Okay, y'all. The news is hitting. It's looking like Kamala is coming back, y'all. She coming back from the dead. If you kept hope alive, it's all right. It's gonna work out for us, y'all. I've been worried. I've been nervous. I've been sick ever since November 4th. I have not been able to look at TV. I haven't been making videos. I just had to walk away. Today, for the very first time, I heard on CNN, I heard them discussing what is happening, and it is turning in our favor, guys. They are looking at this shit, and they know that it wasn't right. They know that we got cheated. They know that he stole it, and they had laid the trap already. They already laid the trap, and it's coming back. Mr. Gardner, thank you so much. This is amazing. We needed this. We needed this. We need you at this moment and at this time. Glory to God. Mamala, we miss you. Where you at? Come on out here and talk to us.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to talk about the Trump deranged liberals currently hoping and praying for a miracle to stop President-elect Trump from becoming their president again, okay? And we know how deranged these liberals are and how far they will go to try to stop the former president from taking back the White House, because we saw that at the very least one of the would-be assassins that tried to kill the president during the campaign season was a radicalized leftist, okay? He was radicalized by the Democrat Party in the mainstream liberal media, and that was the motivation for him trying to take out the former president, okay? So I wouldn't be surprised by anything that these liberals try to pull to stop Trump from becoming president again, okay? And in this video, we got to talk about liberals begging Kamala Harris and the Democrats to do just that, right? They're begging Kamala Harris to stop the certification of Trump as the next president of the United States by Congress. They're begging her to step up and to stop that from happening as vice president on January 6th. Take a look.
Guys, get this. Kamala Harris is actually legally allowed to reject the certification of Donald Trump because of his January 6th insurrection. Legal experts wrote in an op-ed for The Hill that the certification of Trump's election could be legally rejected because of the very little used oath-breaking insurrection clause of the 14th Amendment in the Constitution. They say that the evidence pointing to Trump's role in the January 6th Capitol riot is overwhelming, and Democrats must stop him from taking office by blocking the election certification process. The clause basically states that if you've taken an oath of office before and you engaged in insurrection, then you're disqualified from holding office again. The Supreme Court basically didn't have enough evidence to say that Trump is an insurrectionist, if you will, but Kamala Harris can still legally block the certification process of Trump. And then she will replace Trump as president. The chances of this actually happening are pretty slim due to Democrats' respect for democracy and the democratic process, but it's still fun to have hope.
Look what's happening over there on MSNBC, and look what they're talking about. No, it wasn't a seismic shift, and no, it wasn't a landslide, and no, he doesn't have a mandate. Just to kind of have those waters a little tempered down when... I say when. Some people think it's not going to happen, but I think it's going to happen when they finally reveal that he didn't really win, at least not by the traditional means of what we think the beauty contest is supposed to be won by. And that he will not necessarily be taking that oath come January 20th. Found this interesting. It says former Harris advisor says, quote, she will be back. And this is on The Hill. And that Simone Sanders Townsend, a former top advisor to Vice President Harris, said Monday that Harris will be back after her 2024 White House race loss amid speculation about the outgoing vice president's next steps. Quote, I don't think the world has seen the last of Vice President Kamala Harris. I don't know how she will show up again, but she is a young politician who garnered over 75 million votes in this election, and she will be back. I think this is one of the first little granules. I know they're talking about her White House loss. Personally, you know how I feel about that. But I do think Simone Sanders Townsend is doing what I think a lot of people would do to prep people for her eventual re-immersion. I think she thinks she's done, but she's going to come back in some sort of way, whether as governor or something else, maybe in the 2028 cycle. But I personally think she is laying the foundation, just sowing the seeds a little bit for her eventual showing up as she would to do her job on January 6th, to do whatever the administrative part of the certification of the election is going to be, but also to say, I don't think the world has seen the last of her. I don't know how she's going to show up again, because she actually does know how she's going to show up. She's going to show up January 6th for sure. But she's a young politician. The word choice here is so chef's kiss, because we all know that Donald Trump is not necessarily a spring chicken. And then who garnered over 75 million votes in this election, putting that back out there that she didn't just get 1 or 2 votes. She got 75 million votes, okay? And I just think, it's a little bit of sprinkling that thing like she ain't gone. She's not gone. You may not see her. We all think she's working in the background. But I'm just saying. I think this is one of those moments where people who wanted to talk badly, wanted to say, oh, her campaign was such a failure. Well, you know what? People who were advising her on this campaign is saying she is not done.
Yo, I love how liberals have gone full-blown conspiracy theory territory, hoping, praying, wishing, begging for Kamala Harris to do something, right? To do something about Orange Man becoming their president again, okay? But what's even funnier, why I'm laughing about this, is because even if Kamala Harris had the stones to do something, which I don't think that she has the stones to actually attempt to stop Trump from becoming president, but who knows? Again, I wouldn't put anything past these lunatic Democrats, right? But I'm just saying, I just don't think that Kamala Harris is built for that. I don't think she's about that life. But even if she wanted to, right? Even if she wanted to try to stop the certification, Democrats are the people that made it a lot more difficult for the VP to do anything about the certification of the election after January 6th of 2021, okay? Because they came together and they passed legislation in order to make it damn near impossible for the VP to try to overturn the outcome of the election. And this is why you have some Kamala Harris stands who are upset with the liberal conspiracy theorists that are continuing to suggest that Kamala Harris should do something about Trump becoming president again.
So Sherry Jacobus, and I hope I'm saying your last name correctly, political strategist and ex-GOP with a Patreon, by the way, called Politics with Sherry, believes that Vice President Kamala Harris has the ability to not certify the election. Well, Sherry, as a political strategist and somebody who has a Patreon and makes people pay for your political expertise, I've got some news for you. Let me take you back to 2022 when we had a functional Congress that was Democratic-led. When we passed the Omnibus funding bill, we included the Electoral Reform Presidential Transition Improvement Act. What that basically did was actually secure our elections so that way we wouldn't have another insurrection and to stop what happened on January 6th. For somebody who's supposed to be well-versed in politics, it seems like you don't know a lot.
Okay, so there's some education that needs to be done. I can see that.
Let me explain the new rules on the regulations. Number one, the vice president explicitly is only there ceremonially. She has no authority to reject or alter the votes. Number two, to object to election votes, you would need support from 1/5 from both chambers of the House and Senate. And number three, governors must certify electors before election day. So back to this tweet real quick, Sherry. There's not a fuck thing that Vice President Kamala Harris is going to do. She's going to show face and then get the fuck on and walk in the sunset with Duck because that's what she deserves. She deserves a good life. Rather than burdening and putting more burdens on a black woman, what white women should have done is got their white sisters in gear in this election and actually vote for their better interests, which was vote for Vice President Kamala Harris.
Yeah, so I don't know about you guys, but I find it hilarious to think about the fact that Kamala Harris in a few days is going to have to certify an election that she lost to Trump, aka Hitler, okay? And Kamala Harris, even if she wanted to do something about it, she can't because Democrats in their Trump derangement went out of their way to make sure that the VP can't do anything about it. Now, while Kamala Harris may not be able to stop Trump from becoming their president again, you do have some left-wing legal crackpots who are putting out theories that, well, Congress, Democrats could step up and stop Trump from becoming president by objecting to certifying the Electoral College votes using the 14th Amendment, saying that, well, we think that Trump is an insurrectionist, therefore we do not want to certify the votes. We don't think that he should be president. This is what one left-wing lunatic is asking Democrats to do in Congress on January 6th. Take a look.
So if members of Congress who are sitting there wondering if they should affirm Electoral College votes for Donald Trump, address this question sort of honestly and intellectually, they could certainly say, I believe this is a matter for Congress, and I'm going to exercise my independent judgment, and I'm going to say I am not permitted by my oath of office to certify electoral votes for an insurrectionist, even though I absolutely acknowledge the Supreme Court dicta, the ruminations, the thought experiment, because that wasn't the issue to be resolved in the case that was decided by the Supreme Court regarding the Colorado court's rulings. These are difficult issues, thorny issues, both legally and ethically. And I think each member of Congress is going to have to make the decision for themselves. What I would like to see, Brian, I would like to see them simply call for a vote on whether they want to vote in favor of removing the disqualification and see if they can get to the 2/3. Here's the thing. Let's just assume, let's play out our own thought experiment. Let's assume that Donald Trump is not certified because enough members of Congress say, I know what the Supreme Court said. And let me back up. I know I'm belaboring this point. But remember, the issue the Supreme Court was supposed to decide is whether Colorado, after ruling Donald Trump as an insurrectionist, whether Colorado can keep his name off a presidential primary ballot. That was the issue to be decided. Not only did they say, no, they can't keep his name off a primary ballot, but we're now going to engage in a thought experiment and issue advisory opinions and dicta to try to resolve an issue that has not been briefed or argued to us. That is the folly of this Supreme Court ruling. So I think against that backdrop, each member of Congress will have to decide if they feel bound by that Supreme Court dicta or they feel bound by their oath of office that says, let's see, I took an oath of allegiance, including to the 14th Amendment, Section 3. Donald Trump is an adjudicated insurrectionist. I think we need to have a vote on whether we can remove the disability. So let's go all the way and assume, I'm not saying this is the way it's going to play out, but let's assume Donald Trump is not certified on January 6th. We both know what will happen. This thing will shoot right up to the Supreme Court. And interestingly, and maybe even ironically, then the issue might be met. Both parties will be asked to brief and argue whether there has to be an act of Congress or whether Congress can resolve this in the way they believe they must resolve it by not violating their oath to the Constitution and declining to vote to certify an insurrectionist and keep him from taking the oath of office.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, the far left MSNBC crackpot lawyer is essentially trying to encourage Democrats to test the Supreme Court, okay, to take their Trump derangement to a whole new level, okay, by saying, well, we feel like Trump is an insurrectionist. So therefore, Democrats should disqualify Trump from becoming president of the United States by refusing to certify the election results based off the 14th Amendment. Okay, he's disqualified because he's an insurrectionist. Okay, and we know this because Colorado said so, right? The Colorado Secretary of State said so. Okay, this is the argument. However, the Supreme Court, in their ruling against Colorado, said, well, no, the Secretary of State, the Colorado Democrats can't just decide that Trump is an insurrectionist and remove him from a federal ballot. No. That has to be done via an act of Congress. So this crackpot lawyer is essentially calling for Democrats to test the Supreme Court when it comes to their Colorado ruling, in which they basically established that only the federal government, only the Congress can disqualify the president, okay, from federal office. Essentially, he's saying, if Democrats can stage some type of insurrection against Trump, because that's what he's calling for, right, on January 6th, it will go to the Supreme Court, and we will see if the Supreme Court will uphold the precedent that they set, right? That's what the dude is calling for, right? That's essentially what he's begging for. Now, do I think that will happen? No, I do not think that will happen at all. I think that this is a pipe dream. I just find it hilarious how these people, these liberals, have turned into everything that they claim they're against, right? They hate so-called MAGA conspiracies, which, by the way, are true, right? I mean, basically, all the MAGA conspiracies have been true for the last 4 years straight, right? They hate that, but yet they're putting out their own conspiracies. And again, you have this crackpot lawyer here who's obsessed with January 6th and Trump being an insurrectionist, essentially calling for Democrats to stage an insurrection against Trump. That's what he's doing, because that is what Democrats would be doing. They would be overthrowing democracy. People voted for Trump, regardless of whether or not you believe that Trump is an insurrectionist and that he is disqualified. First and foremost, he hasn't been criminally charged, right? So again, in the court of law, in the criminal court of law, it has not been decided that Trump is an insurrectionist, okay? That he committed a crime against the United States of America. But regardless of whether or not you believe that, Trump got the votes, right? He got the votes. The people voted for him, okay? Despite the charges against him, despite the January 6th committee, all of these things, the American people said, we don't care. We want him to be president. And for these people to openly advocate for the Democrats to go against the will of the people, right, really tells you everything you need to know about how radicalized the Democrat Party base is, right? These are the same people openly rooting for an insurrection, while at the same time, their whole thing against Trump is that he's an insurrectionist. But yet you're asking Democrats to stage an insurrection against Trump. That's what you're asking for. I'm just saying. I hope these people don't get their hopes up. I don't think that Democrats are going to do much on January 6th. Who knows? They may object. A few of them might object, but the election results are not going to be overturned. Trump will be your president again, and you might as well get used to it, at least for the next 4 years. And I'm saying that because I think that all these people who are hoping and wishing and praying that Trump doesn't become their president again, I think that they probably should lay on somebody's couch and talk it out, right? Seek some mental help, okay? Seek mental help with your Trump derangement, because it's going to drive you insane for the next 4 years if you don't come to grips with the reality that Trump won. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.